My name is Miles Rayner. I'm 31. For the last 6 years, I've been building a blockchain optimization system from a one-bedroom apartment in Wichita Falls, Texas. No office, no investors, no one cheering me on. Just caffeine code and long nights listening to everyone else live the life I was supposed to. Every family reunion, the script stayed the same. How's the job search? Miles still doing that Bitcoin thing, followed by a few jokes that might have been funny 3 years ago. I smiled. I nodded, and I let them laugh. Because none of them knew what I knew. The offer sitting quietly in my inbox. $35.2 million. A final acquisition proposal from a Swiss firm that wanted my protocol. I was one click away from becoming wealthier than anyone at that barbecue could imagine. And not a single one of them would believe it. I started coding at 15 on a secondhand laptop my mom bought at a garage sale. Most kids my age were chasing video games or girls. I was chasing logic puzzles, cryptographic models, and the idea that one day I could build something that mattered. My parents thought it was a phase, like the telescope obsession, or the skateboarding ramp I broke my wrist on. Give him time, they said. He'll grow out of it. I didn't. Got into college on a half-ride scholarship, computer science. Everyone expected a straightforward path internship. Entry-level coding job. Work your way up. Instead, halfway through junior year, I dropped out. Blockchain technology was still niche, still doubted, but I saw what it could become. You threw away your future. Dad said, not speaking to me for 4 months. My mom cried quietly, and my sister Lauren tried to mediate, until even she stopped defending me at family dinners. Your grandfather worked in the grid for 42 years, Dad reminded me. So you could waste all that on fake money. I stopped explaining. There's only so many times you can say decentralized consensus before people tune out. So I tuned them out instead. I stayed in my studio, lived on takeout and store-brand ramen. Missed weddings, missed birthdays, missed being understood. While everyone else built families and posted baby photos, I built code. Efficient, elegant, fast, invisible. Something no one would see until it changed everything. 8 months ago, it started happening. A white paper I published online, just theory, just an idea, suddenly exploded. VCs flooded my inbox. One of them, Isabel from Lynx Holdings, got on a video call and said, Miles, your gas optimization model. It's cleaner than anything Ethereum's built. Have you considered licensing it? I hadn't. I was just solving a problem, but she had. First offer, $4.8 million. I turned it down. 6 weeks later, $12 million. Still no. And then a call from Lauren. Dad's having heart issues, she said. They're not urgent, but he'll probably need surgery this year. I asked if they needed help. She paused, then said, we'll figure it out. After we hung up, I stared at the latest offer, $18.5 million. I could solve everything, but I didn't. Not yet. 2 days before the next family gathering, I was in a virtual boardroom with Isabel and 5 European executives. They made their final offer, $35.2 million. Plus a 2-year consulting agreement at $240,000 a year. We need your answer today, the CEO said. I asked for an hour. I walked the neighborhood. Past dads mowing lawns, moms unloading groceries, children playing in driveways. Normalcy, something my family respected more than innovation ever could. I thought about what that money meant. Freedom, maybe. Validation, I wasn't sure. But it was enough to stop proving anything to anyone. I signed the contract, quietly, alone, then closed the laptop and just sat there. No champagne, no celebration, just a strange, thick silence. 6 years of being invisible, of trying to be someone worth listening to. And when I finally made it, no one would believe me. Maybe they never would. That weekend, I was back in my parents' backyard. Miles, Derek says the dealership is still hiring, Dad whispered over his beer. You'd get good benefits. Something stable. I glanced across the yard. Derek, my brother-in-law, was showing off a new watch. Said he earned it from his highest commission month yet. He gave me the same pity look he always did. I gave him the same fake smile I always do. On the drive home that night, my phone buzzed. Lauren. Don't mind, Dad, she texted. He just worries. I tossed the phone onto the seat. What they didn't know wouldn't hurt them, at least not yet. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about what Lauren said, about Dad, about how he'd rather I sold cars than work on fake internet stuff. The money was pending. Monday morning, 35 million would hit a private holding account, but I felt hollow. For 6 years, I'd chased this vision. Now that it was real, it felt like I had no one to share it with. I stared out my apartment window at the lights of Wichita Falls. Somewhere out there, my family was asleep, thinking I was still struggling to make rent, still stuck in a pipe dream they couldn't understand. They weren't entirely wrong. I didn't want revenge. Not really. I didn't need some dramatic speech about how they were wrong. I didn't want to throw money in anyone's face. But I did want peace. I wanted to make sure my family was okay, even if they never knew it was me. So I opened my banking app, created a new trust, and made a list of names. Dad, Mom, Lauren, Sienna, Uncle Clay, even Derek. Yes, even Derek. He may have looked down on me, but he was still family. 3 weeks later, I sat across from Isabel, the financial advisor from Lynx I now trusted more than most people in my life. We met in a discreet office in Fort Worth. No suits, no fanfare. Just quiet conversations and clear intentions. Most clients in your position want a mansion. Or a car collection, Isabel said, reviewing the trust documents. You're creating anonymous relief funds for your family. No recognition. No paper trail. I don't want applause, I said. Just impact. She smiled, closing the folder. You're an unusual kind of wealthy, Mr. Rayner. And I mean that in the best way. We finalized the transfers. The first foundation was seeded with $2.5 million to cover Dad's surgery, Sienna's education, and family debt relief. 2 days later, Lauren called. Her voice was tight. I just got a call from this foundation. Something about a grant. They're covering Dad's entire medical bill, she said, stunned. And Sienna, she qualified for a full scholarship through her school, out of nowhere. I stayed silent for a beat. That's amazing, I said. Sometimes good things happen all at once. She laughed nervously. Feels a little too lucky, honestly. I smiled into the receiver. They'd never trace it back to me. Then came Derek. He texted me late one night. Dude, someone just cleared the back taxes on Grandpa's farm. Like, all of it. That property had been in the family for generations. It was months away from being seized. Anonymous donor, Derek wrote. Dad's losing his mind. I responded like anyone else would. That's incredible. A miracle, right? The next week, we had a small gathering to celebrate the farm's salvation. Theories were flying left and right. Maybe Kyle's doing better than we thought, one aunt said. Could be a local church group, another guessed. Or one of those viral acts of kindness Derek offered. My dad looked across the table at me. His eyes held the same skeptical glint as always, but this time his tone was different. Definitely not Miles's internet money, he joked, but there wasn't as much bite in it. I raised my glass with the rest of them, and I said nothing. 2 months passed. Then I got a call from Isabel. They've implemented your protocol early, she said. System-wide efficiency jumped 12%. Your earnout just tripled. Just like that, my net worth jumped again, now over $50 million. I looked around at my apartment unchanged. Same futon, same beat-up desk, same silence. That evening, Mom called. Dinner Sunday, she asked. Your dad wants to talk. It had been months since he'd asked me for anything directly. Sunday came. I drove the old Honda, wore the same hoodie, didn't want to set off any alarms. Dinner was quiet. Not tense, not warm, just quiet. After dessert, Dad cleared his throat. I've been reading, he said, surprising me. About crypto. Decentralized systems. That kind of stuff. I blinked. You have... Yeah, after all this stuff that's happened, the surgery getting covered, the scholarship, the farm. I started thinking maybe there's more to this tech than I gave credit for. Mom nodded beside him. Your father thinks we might have been too quick to judge your work, she said gently. I sat there unsure what to say. The silence wasn't awkward, it was fragile. I still don't get it all, Dad said. But I'd like to understand. If you'd be willing to explain it again. So I did. We sat at the kitchen table. I drew diagrams on napkins, used analogies about contracts and locks. To my surprise, he kept up, asked good questions, took notes. When I stood to leave, he walked me to the car. He stood beside me, hands in pockets. I've been hard on you, he said, voice low. You stuck to something no one believed in. That takes guts. I learned that from you, I told him honestly. He looked away for a moment, then smiled, not proud, but respectful. Come by more often, he said. Your mom wants to know if she should buy Ethereum now. We both laughed. Driving home, I realized something had shifted. Not just in how they saw me, but in how I saw them. They weren't cruel, they were scared. Scared for me. Scared of what they didn't understand. And I had never given them a chance to learn. But now they were trying. And for the first time in years, I wasn't trying to prove anything. I just wanted to belong. I thought I could stay hidden, that I could play the ghost, give quietly, protect anonymously. Let them believe the universe had simply decided to bless them for once. But people aren't that naive forever, especially not Derek. He called me the week after Dad's follow-up appointment. Lauren said the surgery had gone perfectly. No complications. Fast recovery. Everything I'd hoped for. Then came the call. "Hey," Derek said casually. "Got a minute?" "Sure." "This is gonna sound weird, but do you know anything about a job opening over at Sterling Auto?" I paused. Sterling was the dealership across town, bigger, better base pay, actual benefits. "What about it?" They reached out to me. Cold. Said my name was passed along by a private referral. I leaned back in my chair. "That's great, man." "Yeah. Except I didn't apply. And the only person I know with that kind of access." He trailed off. There was a beat of silence between us. "Miles, be honest. Are you the reason all this stuff is happening?" I didn't answer. I didn't lie. But I didn't confirm either. "I don't even have a steady job," I said lightly. "Yeah," he replied. "That's the thing. You're acting different lately." He didn't push, but he knew. And now, so did Lauren. She called later that night, voice low, half whispering. "Derek's starting to put things together." "That's so." He said, "You seem calm, like someone who doesn't worry anymore." "Guess I'm just getting older," I joked. She didn't laugh. "You know, if it is you doing all this, people might want to say thank you." That hit harder than I expected, because I wasn't sure I wanted that. A week later, I sat across from Isabel again. Same quiet office, same grounded advice. "They're starting to suspect," I told her. "Of course they are," she said. "Anonymous generosity works until people start seeing patterns." "So what do I do?" She leaned forward. "You have options. You can stretch out the gifts, disrupt the pattern, or you can begin revealing the truth. Reveal it all. Not all at once, maybe just to one person, someone you trust." I nodded slowly. There was only one name on that list. Lauren. I invited her to a coffee shop in downtown Wichita Falls. Neutral ground. Casual setting. She showed up 10 minutes late, frazzled and suspicious. "You never do this," she said. "What's going on?" I slid a folder across the table. Her brow furrowed as she opened it. Legal documents, tax filings, trust accounts. Her eyes widened as she flipped through. This is for Sienna, her entire education, and then some." She blinked. "Where is this money coming from?" I met her eyes. "Remember the blockchain protocol I started 6 years ago? The one no one understood." Her jaw dropped. "You sold it." I nodded. 6 months ago. 35.2 million. She stared at me like I was a stranger. "Why didn't you tell anyone?" "Because it wasn't about the money. It was about trying to help. Quietly. Miles, all this time. While Dad was telling you to get a real job. I didn't want to prove anyone wrong. I just didn't want to make it about me." She laughed softly, shook her head. "You've always been like this. Quiet, complicated." She reached across the table and took my hand. "What do you want to do now?" "I need your help. I'm creating a larger family trust, but I want everyone to understand why before they know how much." Over the next few weeks, Lauren and I worked quietly behind the scenes. She'd bring up blockchain articles during dinner. "Did you hear about that guy who sold his crypto project for millions?" she'd say offhandedly. Mom would frown. "All that digital nonsense, still not real." "Well, apparently real enough to pay off someone's entire mortgage," Lauren would reply. At first it was casual, a joke. Then it became curiosity. Even Dad started asking questions. Small ones, polite ones. Like, "What exactly is it you built again?" Or, "If I wanted to understand this crypto stuff, where would I start?" The cracks were widening. The old disbelief was softening. We arranged a family meeting, under the pretense of estate planning. "Just in case something happens to the farm," Lauren had said. "Wouldn't hurt to have a plan." Everyone came. Uncle Clay, Mom, Dad, Derek, even Kyle, our cousin who usually avoided these things. We brought in a financial planner, someone Isabel recommended. Not flashy, not intimidating. Just someone who could explain trusts and funds in everyday language. No one connected the dots. Not yet. But I could feel the tension shifting. The idea of financial security was no longer foreign. It was possible. Then came the real opportunity. Lauren called one afternoon, voice filled with subtle meaning. Sienna's school is hosting a career day. Okay. They want parents or relatives who work in tech. Developers. Engineers. I knew what she meant. It was time. I'll do it, I said. You sure? Yeah, it's time they heard the truth from me. 6 months to the day after I signed the acquisition deal, I stood in front of 25 12-year-olds in a middle school classroom. Lauren sat in the back. So did Mom, Dad, Derek, even a few aunts and uncles. I took a deep breath. 6 years ago, I dropped out of college to build something no one believed in. I began. Not my friends, not my family, not even me some days. The kids were half bored, half confused. But the adults, they were locked in. I was working on blockchain, a way to make cryptocurrency faster and more secure. I missed birthdays. I missed holidays. People laughed when I said I wanted to build a protocol. 6 months ago, I sold that project for over $35 million. The room went silent. Even the air seemed paused. I continued. But that's not the most important part. The important part is that success doesn't always look like a nice car or a fancy title. Sometimes it looks like a worn-out hoodie and an old Honda. Sometimes it looks like sitting alone building something no one else understands. And sometimes it looks like helping your family without ever telling them it was you. I ended the speech with one final announcement. I'm also funding a grant right here at this school. Every student who wants access to coding tools will have it. No application, no test, just opportunity. Sienna ran up and hugged me. The class clapped, but all I saw were the faces in the back of the room. Dad, frozen. Mom, eyes wide, hand to her mouth. Derek, he was shaking his head and smiling. And Lauren, she was crying. The room didn't move. After I stepped off the stage at Sienna's school, there was a strange kind of hush in the air, like everyone was catching up to the reality they'd just heard. $35 million. Blockchain. Miles Rayner. None of those things had ever belonged in the same sentence to them. Dad looked like he'd seen a ghost. Mom had tears on her cheeks she didn't seem to notice. Derek just blinked. I didn't say anything more. I just stood near the wall, letting the noise trickle back in as kids returned to their seats. Sienna kept holding my hand. Afterward, outside the classroom, it hit all at once. Was that true? Mom asked quietly. All of it. Yeah, I said. The surgery, Sienna's scholarship, the farm taxes. I nodded. Dad was silent. Lauren stood beside him, watching his expression shift from disbelief to something deeper. All this time, he muttered, we thought you were wasting your life. I wasn't, I said softly. I was just doing it in a way that didn't make sense to you. He didn't argue. He didn't apologize either, but I saw it. The crack, the shift, the weight of years breaking loose inside him. Derek was the first to speak clearly. He clapped me on the shoulder. Man, I offered you a sales job twice. They were solid offers, I chuckled, just not my lane. He laughed and it felt genuine. Like maybe finally we were equals. Or maybe I'd stopped needing to be one. 2 weeks later, we helped Mom and Dad move. A smaller house, single story, near Lauren's place so they could see Sienna more often. Bought through the family trust. No fanfare. No giant ribbon or gifted by your crypto son banner. Just a peaceful front yard. And a place where Dad wouldn't have to climb stairs with his bad knee. As we unpacked boxes in the garage, he found his old fishing gear. Held it in silence for a long while. Still don't understand what you built, he said finally. But I'm trying. That's all I ever wanted, I told him. He paused again. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. That evening, we all had dinner on the back patio. Derek was talking excitedly about the coding classes he'd signed up for. Figured I'd better get in on this tech train, he joked. Never too late, right? Lauren had officially left her corporate accounting job. She was launching her own practice, helping families navigate financial stress, armed with seed capital from the trust. Sienna, she was showing Mom how to download a crypto wallet app. This is how you buy Ethereum, Nana, she said proudly. And I just sat there, watching, soaking it in. It wasn't the money, it wasn't the recognition. It was this moment, where no one was laughing at me, where no one was offering me a job I didn't want, where I wasn't the odd one out. I slipped away for a moment, walked to the edge of the backyard where the trees met the neighbor's fence. The sun was low, casting everything in orange and violet. Wichita Falls looked like a painting you didn't dare touch. My phone buzzed. An email from Isabel. Another firm wanted consulting, triple the rate. Another million just waiting to be claimed. I put the phone back in my pocket. It could wait. Behind me, I heard footsteps. Dad. He stood next to me quietly for a moment. Then softly, "Your grandfather would have been proud." I didn't answer at first. Not because of the money, he said, but because you didn't quit. I looked over. "I learned that from you." He put a hand on my shoulder. It didn't feel strange anymore. It felt right. "Come back to the table," he said. "Your mom wants to know if she should stake coins or just buy and hold." I actually laughed. "Let's start with logging into the wallet, Dad." Fair enough. We walked back together. That night, as I lay in bed, I realized something had changed, not just in them, but in me. I wasn't chasing validation anymore. I wasn't bracing for rejection every time I showed up. I didn't need them to get it. They were trying. That was enough. And now, maybe it was my turn to start trusting them again too. It had been a month since career day. A month since I stood in front of a classroom and told the truth. A month since I stopped hiding behind silence and let my family see what I had really built. And yet somehow, the quiet hadn't gone away. It just changed shape. Now, instead of hiding, the silence felt like peace. One morning, Lauren called. Her voice was calm but serious. "Miles, something strange is going on." "What kind of strange?" "Derek thinks someone's pulling strings behind the scenes. Too many coincidences." I stayed still. The surgery, the scholarship, the farm. Now, Sterling Auto just offered him a promotion. Out of nowhere. "That's great news," I said, avoiding the point. "He thinks it's you," she said bluntly. "Me. You've been different, calmer, focused, like someone who doesn't worry anymore." I didn't know how to respond, because she was right. That evening, I met with Isabel again. We reviewed the family trust donation timing and long-term structure. "So far, it's working," she said. "But sustainable giving has a pattern. And your family's starting to notice." "I know. So the question is, what's next?" "I don't want the attention, but I also don't want the truth to feel like a trick." She leaned back in her chair. "Then maybe it's time to give them something they can see without losing the meaning behind it." That stuck with me. Not a reveal, not a confession, a gift of clarity. So I made a decision. I would formalize the trust. Give it a name, a story, a purpose. And I'd let it be known not all at once, not with speeches or viral videos, but piece by piece to the people who mattered. Lauren helped me again. Together, we created a quiet rollout plan. We met with a lawyer, a neutral third-party fiduciary. We outlined conditions. Funds could only be used for education, medical support, business creation, or legacy care. And we drafted a letter simple, direct, and signed in my own name. A week later, the family gathered for what we called a planning dinner. It wasn't a party, it wasn't a reveal, just a meal. But on each seat there was a folder. Inside documentation of the trust, its terms, and a personal letter from me. No numbers, no net worth, just truth. "I never wanted to prove anyone wrong," I wrote. "I just wanted to do something right quietly. This trust exists so no one in our family ever has to choose between survival and dignity again. If that's all I leave behind, it'll be enough." They read silently, some faster than others. Mom was the first to cry. Dad didn't, but he folded the letter neatly, placed it back in the folder, and said nothing. Later, when I walked him to his car, he finally spoke. "I didn't know how to believe in something I couldn't see." "Most people don't," I replied. He nodded. "But I do now." And that was enough. A few days later, something unexpected happened. Kyle, the cousin who had always kept his distance, called me. "I read your letter," he said. "I didn't realize what you were doing behind the scenes." "Wasn't trying to be seen," I said. "Still, thank you for what it's worth." I told him the truth. I wasn't trying to be a savior. I just didn't want anyone else to feel the way I did, unseen, alone. There was a pause. "You're not," he said. Time passed. Seasons turned. Lauren's practice took off. She started offering financial literacy workshops for families like ours. Families that had been told money was always out of reach. Derek's new role gave him time to be home more with Sienna. He even started learning Python just for fun, as he put it. Mom finally went on her first vacation in years, Florida, with some old friends from high school. And Dad. He subscribed to a crypto newsletter. Asked me to explain validator nodes over coffee one morning. One afternoon, I sat in my apartment, still the same one bedroom, though now I could have bought 10 buildings like it. I opened my laptop and stared at the old code. The original protocol. My first lines. my first attempt to fix something. And I felt something I hadn't in a long time. Gratitude. For every night I stayed up questioning myself. For every family dinner where I bit my tongue. For every time I wanted to give up but didn't. Legacy doesn't come with a title. It comes in conversations, small shifts, and changed minds. In a father who once dismissed your life's work, asking questions with genuine curiosity. In a niece who sees you not just as weird Uncle Miles, but as someone worth becoming. In a sister who never stopped believing even when you stopped believing in yourself. One night I was sitting on the back patio of Lauren's house. The whole family was there laughing, eating, sharing stories. And as I looked around, I realized no one was looking at me as the tech guy anymore. Not as the dropout, not as the disappointment. Just Miles. Part of them. Finally. And when Sienna ran up to me and whispered, "Uncle Miles, I want to learn to build stuff like you do," I smiled and said the only thing that mattered. You already can. This was never about money. It was about meaning. And finding your place in a family that didn't see you until you helped them see themselves.